All right, in today's video, I'm actually going to answer a question that just came in from a YouTube subscriber. The guy's name is JS, and he says here, "Hey man, you throw me for a loop. From the style of your autobiographical writing, your other hobbies, etc. Would you mind offering some advice to a 24-year-old looking to become equally educated in your method? I am likely never going to have the spare time for options anywhere in the near future, that is. Nonetheless, can you recommend some places for me to grow my investing knowledge? I currently have over 6 figures invested in the market with a 10% allocation into the hedgefundie. Furthermore, do you personally see major headwinds in the equities and bond market in the next decade, as all the major investment banks are forecasting?" All right. Well, thank you for following the channel and knowing a little bit about me. I appreciate that. So let's start from the first statement here. I think here you're referencing, some of my poetry, my novella, my North Carolina vineyard, and that, I didn't come to this from Wharton. I didn't come to this from working at Goldman Sachs. I took a roundabout method. But the one thing I would say there is, and I'll use two references here. Actually, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, when he speaks of George Soros, he basically says that Soros is an Eastern European intellectual, and his investing is just a small part of his intellectual life. Let's take Jim Simmons, founder of Rentec. Started his career in mathematics. Maybe some would say that he almost won the Nobel Prize in mathematics, or could have. I mean, he was doing math on the highest level, and if he never did anything other than that, he would have been remembered. I think he worked in his early career with a guy named Chen. They did some really high level mathematics together. So you see sometimes some of the greatest investors don't come from a business MBA, suit and tie background. I mean, they can. It doesn't mean that they can't come from that background. But oftentimes you see really intellectual people simply applying their intellectualism to financial markets. So that would be those two examples with Soros and with Simmons. So let's see here. Then you say some advice to become equally educated in your method. So my method, and I write about this oftentimes in Seeking Alpha, is something that I call syncretic, and many people would just call that multi-strategy in the hedge fund world. But by studying so many great investors, I'm taking little bits and pieces from them and applying it to my own style. So the answer to this question is reading. I read probably 2 to 3 hours, maybe even more every day. When you do a deep study of Buffett spends 6, 7, 8 hours reading. I think in his first wife said something to the effect of, "I think Warren would be happy with a reading lamp and a book." And now this is interesting because this is in contrast actually with those who are more entrepreneurial. And I mentioned this in my last video as well, is I don't have that sort of entrepreneurial, get up at the crack of dawn, go, 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 hustle, 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 cold call these people, manage employees, manage inventory, advertising, marketing, shipping. I have the temperament more of a tenured college professor. And meaning I like to spend most of my time reading and thinking. I've had to force myself to be a little bit more of a doer. But to answer your question, what I would say is you really need to read and to study investing. So these are just some books that I have literally just next to my desk here. I finished these fairly recently. Here's one here, Modern Value Investing, Sven Carlin. Here's another book I read on Buffett. Um, Warren Buffett, Inside the Ultimate Money Mine, Robert Hagstrom. Finished that fairly recently. This is another one. We'll talk about the option strategy in a bit, but this one is the wheel strategy in options. This one is by Med Favor. Invest with the House, Hacking the World's Top Hedge Funds. And then this one is really, really excellent. This is Richer, Wiser, Happier, How the World's Greatest Investors Win in Markets and Life, William Green. And so what I'm trying to show you here, these are just the ones that are near my desk. I just grabbed, I mean, I have hundreds. And so you should try to make it a goal, especially being so young. If you devote a few hours a day, or maybe it's an hour before bed or an hour when you wake up in the morning, to reading and learning, you'd be surprised at what you know by the time you wake up at 30 years old, in 6, 7 years, 30, 31. You could probably read most every single book in financial education over the next 6 or 7 years. So I just actually pulled it. Let's pull up here. I just pulled up Amazon, for example. I just typed in investing, right? So just literally type in investing in Amazon, and you're gonna see The Intelligent Investor, Benjamin Graham. Definitely recommend anything by John Bogle, The Little Book of Common Sense Investing. Let's see here, The Elements of Investing. Let's see, Bogleheads, another John Bogle book. Rule number 1. So Phil Town is a big value guy. He kind of teaches you the method of Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, sort of the spirit of value investing. Whereas those guys aren't like teachers per se. I mean, they might give you some advice here and there, but he really gives you tools, and he has like a software program. So that's something to look at. We're back here to Bogle. This one is also excellent. Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel, Simple Path to Wealth, J.L. Collins really breaks down the power of indexing. This one I just showed you here, Richer, Wiser, Happier, Principles, Ray Dalio, One Up Wall Street, Peter. So just literally like typing in investing or stock market investing, financial education on Amazon, and you can get a lot of these books, like even for just a few dollars used. So definitely get in the habit of reading and learning, and then you can also do this through podcasts. But this is one way. Another thing is to look at a couple different websites. Every day I'm looking at Seeking Alpha, which I have pulled up here. Actually, I write my monthly essay there. Okay. But you're going to see here, trending analysis, just spending a lot of time reading different essays on Seeking Alpha, trending news, just get in the habit of pulling that up every day. Then I have CNBC, just reading through, finding interesting articles. CNBC sometimes can be more, just journalistic, so as opposed to sheer investing. But you also will get specifics with investing, and then Bloomberg. So you get in the habit of Seeking Alpha, CNBC, Bloomberg. Just reading essays, just anything that kind of piques your interest here. And sometimes, like on the articles, they'll do like, how would you invest $100,000 now? So you can kind of go things and then see what other investors would do. So let's come back here now. Let's see here. Yeah. So just, can you recommend some places for me to grow my investing knowledge? So there you go. So those particular websites, and then just reading. The other thing I would say is the fact that you're 24 and have 6 figures invested in the market is a tremendous accomplishment. I mean, I think that probably places you in the 1% of your age. We could look that up to verify that. But I mean, most people your age are taking out massive student loans for college, graduate school, law school, medical school, what have you. So the fact that you're actually not taking out debt, but you're building equity is tremendous. And we could actually pull up a compound interest calculator. I mean, even if you did nothing else but let that money compound, you probably never even need to invest again. This is sort of a Dave Ramsey or compound interest story. But if you pull out a compound interest calculator, I don't know what your six figures. I don't know if your six figures is 100,000 or it's 900,000. But even if you dollar cost a little bit into this, and you have a small amount in leverage ETFs, which I've written about and I use, so that's great. And then the other thing I would say here, you said, do you personally see major headwinds in equities and bond market in the next decade? This is one of the things I've learned from Monish Pabri in a way. And he says, avoid all macro. When Buffett's asked, what do you think the stock market's going to do? I think his answer is it will fluctuate. You'll pull up a CNBC or Bloomberg and you'll on the same, like literally one headline, then the next headline. One headline will be the market's going to go up by 30%. And the next headline is the market's going to fall by 30%. I have no idea. And so I'm looking for opportunity. I'm not looking to read the macro tea leaves as opposed to someone like Nouriel Roubini, Ray Dalio, Soros, Niederhofer. These are more kind of macro investors. I'm looking at kind of micro. I'm looking for businesses that are trading on the cheap that I can pick up. And so, to that point, I made a fortune in 2020 by buying the most distressed sectors, by buying cruise lines, energy, hotels, and that's kind of going on right now with China. So right now I'm looking at K-Web, I'm looking at FXI. I think the other China ETF is MCHI. So China's declined because of sort of macro fears. So I wouldn't. So for example, let's say your six figures is 100,000. Even if all the major investment banks are correct, and if at 29, which is 5 years from now, your 100,000 goes to 50,000, well, those things are then kicking out dividends, which hopefully then you're reinvesting. So you're buying cheaper shares. So if anything, it's just going to enhance your snowball when you're 35, 45, 55. And if anything, if there is sort of a lost decade, I think someone like Dalio mentioned something like a lost decade. If there is a lost decade, if you're buying things that are low PE, trading on the cheap, even if you're down over the decade, but you're accumulating assets, you'll be better served, and you're really again just enhancing that snowball. I hope that helps. Let me see if I forgot anything. I think I went through it pretty good here. Yeah, certain websites, you can learn a lot on podcasts as well. That's another thing. One of the habits that I do is, I'm reading a lot during the afternoons, and then in the evening before bed, instead of, entertaining myself, I'm watching different YouTube videos of others and information. So that's another thing. And this is a statement. I don't know if it's a Kiyosaki statement or where I heard it, but the poor entertain themselves in their free time. The rich educate themselves. So think about that. The poor, they watch sports a lot. They watch sitcoms. They play video games. They play on social medias. They chat with their friends and family. Whatever. The rich are constantly learning new skills. So you mentioned options, for example. I really knew nothing about options just a few years ago. And I said to myself, if I want to be in the top 1% of investors, I need to be a master of options. In order, and it was influenced really by Carl Icahn. Because a lot of the guys I mentioned, Buffett, Munger, they've done a little bit with options. If they want to buy something, they'll sell some puts. But someone like Icahn really has kind of made his living a lot with options. And I realized, I think for me at least, to take that next step, I needed to master. So what did I do? I watched every single YouTube video I could on options. I ordered every book I could. I started running through scenarios. I started doing it. And, to date, I've probably made six figures. I've probably made 100,000 just in option premium, or pretty close to it. I know I'm at like 33 this year. So we'll see if this year, if I hit maybe 50, we'll see. We'll see how markets go. But just adding that skill set, has really enhanced, and it's why I have a 29 or 30% CAGR, to be honest. Without the options that I've been deploying, my CAGR would probably be half of that. Maybe it's 15, maybe it's 18, maybe it's 20. But the fact that I'm using capital in the Maneos compounding machine, selling puts and calls on that, taking the premium and buying what I see as undervalued assets, that's really enabled me to garner that 30%. So it's just, it sounds like you said, that spare time. So maybe you're working a full-time job, so you're maybe not have that 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon to learn, but you got to find a time at night, in the morning, at some point, to just allocate for deep learning. And if you can do that, that also compounds, just like money compounds, knowledge compounds. Or, imagine if you do this now from 24 to 30, what you'll know at 30 years old versus if you don't, for whatever reason. Oh, I'm too busy, it's too complicated, so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it. The other thing I would say is I'm working with a company now, Composer, which is a software company based in Canada. And at some point, they may enable me to release kind of all of my strategies. So if that would ever happen, I certainly would let you know. I think that's down the line for them. So it's something where you would be able to like kind of invest alongside me. We'll see if that develops, but that would be pretty cool if that does happen. But anyways, listen, hope that helps. Let me know if there's any follow-up questions and your thoughts on the video, and best wishes in your investing and your learning. Take care. Ciao.